Hello, hello, my friends. Welcome back. In this Lioness Sound Bite, I am going to be talking all about the difference between intuition and fear. And in these Lioness Sound Bites, we go deep right away. These are often transmissions that I receive from my consciousness, downloads, things that just come through that I have found really land for my practice members and my coaching clients and mentorship programs. So let's dive in. So many people, when they come into my world, they say, Dr. Mel, how can I really trust my own intuition? How can I discern the difference between fear versus intuition? And a lot of people, when they talk about having a gut feeling, having a gut instinct, like they feel it in their gut, I want to offer to you that that gut feeling isn't necessarily your intuition. Now, I know that oftentimes people have said that your intuition does live in your gut, but the truth is your intuition lives all over your body and exists all over your body. So oftentimes when you have fear, you might feel it in your gut, right? When there's a lot of fear and your hardwiring of your gut and your physiology has been living in fear patterns, you may not have as much access to your intuition, but what will happen is you feel it in your gut and you might call it your intuition, when in reality, the fear patterns and programs are kind of overlaying the intuition. I'm going to talk about how to get back to your intuition because there's 4 feedback loops to listen to of your intuition to make sure that you're clearing the noise, you're clearing the static, and you're clearing the signals. So number 1 is recognizing that if your nervous system and your body has been living in a state of fight, flight, fawning, freezing, fitting in, fornication. Yes, there's more than just fight or flight, y'all. There's actually 6 defaults, and in fact, a lot more that I teach in my Project Lioness program. When you've been living in that state for a while, your intuition is harder to hear. And so the first thing to actually look at is these feedback loops of what are the signs, symptoms, and signals that are trying to get you back to your intuition, but there's some noise and static. So the first feedback loop, the first thing of your body, of the universe that's going to send you a sign, a signal, or a message is your physiology. And when I say feedback loops, I mean it shows up as things that happen in your body and other elements of your life, in which I'll talk to. And that's the beautiful thing, is when you can actually start to see these signs and signals and symptoms as not something that's wrong, but guiding you, giving you guidance back home to your intuition, your soul's guidance, your soul's intuition. You can actually start to see the universe and things happening for you rather than to you. So there's 4 feedback loops that are guiding you back to your intuition, that your intuition either gives you I call it feather brick truck. If you've been in my world for a while, you know this analogy. Feather brick truck. The feather is the whisper of like, yeah, I've kind of been like knowing that's a thing. The feather lands on your shoulder and it's like, hey, or whisper. You could use the word whisper. Like, pay attention here. And then you kind of ignore it. And then the brick comes and like comes flying through your window and you're like, holy shit. And then when you don't listen to the brick getting thrown at your face or through your window, then the truck shows up. And while I don't want you all, and this is metaphorical, it can also be physical. This is where I've had practice members and clients say, you know what? One of the best things that happened to me was actually I had this injury and it completely woke me up into a way of living that I wasn't even conscious of. And it can feel like a lot, it can feel like chaos, but nothing like chaos to really create some new order. And knowing that you ultimately are creating your entire reality. Yes, both the positive and the negative. That's for another podcast. But when you can understand that you are a conscious creator, you are a co-creator of your lived existence and your lived reality, that actually can give you your autonomy and your power back to you. Yes, even in moments of chaos and challenge. And so if you know and understand the laws of physics and the laws of reality, then you can actually learn to work with it and realize that you get to leverage these laws and create things that are more in favor of your highest values. This is where when I see people who are living in a lot of chaos, whether it's their relationships or their health or their business, there's a part of them that is unaware that their system is creating this to get them to wake up to something different. And so when you live on autopilot, you think that the world happens to you. When you live conscious and aware, you realize that you're creating all of it for your evolution and your growth. And growth isn't always pretty. Okay, so that's like the world that I play in. And if that doesn't sound like, if you want to keep living on autopilot and not be the main character of your life, then you can stop this podcast. I am not for you. I am not for everyone. I have realized over the years of creating this podcast that sometimes I filter things, and there's just no filtration anymore. Like, the cosmos are aligned. There's no filtration anymore. You're going to get the raw, real me, even if it like challenges you a little bit. But I'm not here to have you like necessarily be my friend. Like, I love all people, but I'm here to have you thank me. I don't care if you, one of my mentors says, I don't care if you love me or hate me. I care that you thank me. And when you can get that there's a subconscious part of you that sometimes actually kind of likes chaos a little bit, you kind of like the kink of the chaos, then you can be like, okay, yeah, there's a part of me that is like part of this design, and I can have autonomy. I can have agency here and choose where I focus my energy, choose where I'm actually focusing what I want in my life, and live more into your life design, your North Star, and your map of fulfillment. And you're like, what are those things, Mel? Then stick around. You're going to want to stick around. You're going to want to join my $1 Million Nervous System program. Okay. So I digress. Again, Lioness Sound Bite. It's going to feel like a little bit of a download. It's going to be a little bit of it into the inside of like the Einstein brain that I have. If I could have a recording and a podcast and a microphone on me all the time, y'all would be like, holy shit. And maybe you would like that. And if you would, then stay to the end because I got a special invite for you. Okay, 4 feedback loops. Are you ready for this? So the first feedback loop of our intuition, getting us to come. So these are feedback loops that we experience to get us to come back to our intuition, which is where we are most poised, where we are most grounded. We receive insight. We are more regulated. I know that's a word that a lot of people are throwing around. I like the word coherence. And you're grounded even in the midst of chaos. Okay? Again, if you have been living in a lot of sympathetic energy in your nervous system and you've been on and activated, your intuition is going to be muffled. And so the signals you're probably feeling aren't your intuition, they're fear. So when a lot of people are saying, oh, my gut just said no. It's like, yeah, sometimes your intuition is actually telling you to do something that feels very uncomfortable. Actually, I find if it's your true intuition, it's probably the exact opposite of something you actually really want to do. Whereas your fear patterns are going to try to keep you safe. That's your nervous system, your fear, your primitive nervous system trying to keep you safe. And safe can mean the same, right? It can be hard to make a big business move. It can sometimes feel challenging to leave a relationship. It can sometimes feel, for you service providers, like cutting down your hours. You know, your fear might say, in your gut, you may feel that density in your gut. Your fear might say, oh, it'd just be like, I don't want to go through the trouble of like emailing everyone and telling them I'm raising my rates or changing my hours. I'm just going to stay the same. And that's your fear. But people will call it intuition. So the difference is your intuition, number one, communicates through your body. So signs, symptoms, signals. Physiology is the first feedback loop of your intuition, the first feedback loop of the universe. So when you don't listen to your body, okay, you don't listen to your heart racing at night. You don't listen to the lack of sleep. You don't listen to the constant gut issues that are coming up to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't have the ice cream every night, right? When we're not listening to our body, then what happens is, because our body and our nervous system is intelligent, it goes to the next strategy. So the first 2 layers are intrinsic or internal. The second 2 layers of feedback are external, so outside of you. So thankfully, if we listen to the inner cues, we don't have to create as much inner or outer chaos. When we're actually listening to our inner dialogue, which can sometimes feel stormy, we actually don't create the outer chaos as much. And that's where you get to live in the quantum and create your true reality and not keep attracting challenges to wake you the fuck up. All right. So the first one is your physiology. The second one is, if you don't listen to the body, it goes to the mind, your psychology. So where you're having the same ruminating thoughts. And everything in these feedback loops, y'all, is intelligent. So your depression signals, your ruminating thoughts around something in your business, your self-judgment, your anxiety, it's all intelligent, getting you to wake up to the fact that you're living out of alignment with your true intuition, your soul's purpose, your life design, your mission. Because when you're in sync with why you were put on this planet, your dharma, your life design, your map of fulfillment, your values, your preferences. And if you don't know what those are, go to my website. I have a ton of resources that you can take to understand what your life design is. It's a free assessment that you can take. When you're in your zone of inspiration and your zone of genius, things flow. The challenges fall off and roll off your shoulder. Things happen for you rather than to you, because you're in that zone and you're in a different frequency to attract things that actually match who you're becoming, not the frequency of your past. You see, you attract who you are, not what you want. You attract who you are being in the moment and the frequency that you're emitting, not necessarily what your ego wants. Okay? So, psychological feedback loop. Intelligent, like, oh, I just keep noticing I have the same thought pattern, the same anxiety pattern. Instead of saying, let's get rid of that, say, what is this actually telling me? That's a really, really powerful shift in perspective, is instead of trying to make the symptoms go away, make the thought patterns go away, say, what is this really telling me? And chances are what's underneath the mental rumination is your body needs some energy to move, which is why if you're stuck in the mind, you need to move your body, okay? Now, if you don't listen to the intrinsic feedback loops, guess what? There's 2 more that are going to come your way because you are a co-creator in the universe. Yes, you are connected to the people around you. You are absolutely connected to your community. You are absolutely connected to the neighborhood. You are absolutely connected to what's happening across the globe. Whether you believe it or not, you are absolutely connected. Maybe not through physical matter, but through the energetic field, through the collective consciousness. I love it when I said that. My timing on here said 11:11. So you're welcome. We are tapped in, y'all. So if you don't listen to the intrinsic feedback loops of your intuition, guess what? The universe is still going to try as hard as it can to get you to boop back into alignment. It's going to smack you across the face. And sometimes that little boop, even though it hurts, you're like, okay, I'm back in. I'm tapped in. So the third one is relationships. Yes, the people around you, your sociology, your relational field. So if you keep getting in the same conversations, the same arguments, the same drama with your family, with your friends, with your partner, and it keeps looping and looping and looping and looping, there's something there to pay attention to. There's something there that, for example, let's say you keep getting into the same argument with your spouse. Rather than blaming your spouse, look at and say, where is my part in this? Where am I maybe slightly have a little bit of kink and addiction to this chaos? Where is my co-creative energy? Where is my part in this conversation? And where can I wake up to the fact of where I am choosing to be in this conversation, to be in this argument? Maybe, just maybe this conversation, this argument that I keep having is waking me up to something from my past. That reminds me of when I would fight with my dad. That reminds me of when I would, I'm just giving you some examples, right? But what's happening now in your current reality, if it's of the energy of drama, tension, challenge, it's because there's something here for you that's reminding you of your past. And so, gosh, how intelligent is the universe? This thing here, if you're out watching on YouTube, you can see me. This thing that's happening now is really a resonance of something in your past that you're still emotionally charged around. And when you go back in time and you realize, oh my gosh, this thing has a different perspective, boom, you shift your current reality. And then you timeline hop. And I'll do another Lioness Sound Bite about what quantum leaping really is, because I think most of the world has it totally fucked, if I'm going to be straight. Like, quantum leaping, it's like, you don't actually know the science, bitch. Okay. I'm so real in this podcast, y'all. I'm having a good time. Okay. So if you don't listen to the relational or the social feedback loops, then there's one more. That's global. Things get global. Big, catastrophic, big feedback loops of the world. You tap into the collective feedback loop. So this is where we see big things that impact the entire state of humanity. So it could be a virus, it could be war, it could be economic. And if you're like, well, Mel, I'm not part of that. Yes, you are. You are absolutely part of it. You as an individual are in the collective field. And I think more and more as the astros and the cosmos are doing what they're doing, more and more people are waking up to realize this is the butterfly effect, where a butterfly that flaps its wings in Tokyo, or whatever the saying is, it's the mantra, right? The butterfly flaps its wings and causes a hurricane or a typhoon in Tokyo. Because this is the entanglement of the energetics of the universe. And if you're like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? This is the type of conversations I have within my Project Lioness cohort program, where we go beyond just your own drama and trauma, and we actually realize that we are co-creators of this consciousness and of the collective. And that when you can really untangle thyself, you can start to shift the energy of the universe around you and become the Jedi of your life, become the master creator of your life, and you become the master of your destiny, not the victim of your history. And this Lioness Soundbite and my podcast is all about people who are up to things, people who are wanting to create an impact, people who want to transcend the drama of their past and live into the dharma of their future, and ultimately not become a non-player character. And if you know video games, you know what I'm talking about. Be a main character, because you got one life. At least as far as I know, you got one life. And you can either choose to create what you want, to make an impact and love your life, no matter what's happened to you has actually happened for you. You can learn to love your life, love what you're creating, and make that and create that ripple effect into your kids, into your family. Because as much as like we can get addicted to this self-work, self-development, it's really not about you. At least for me, I'm big into like, how can I show up as a leader, a healer, a high achiever, a conscious entrepreneur, a courageous human, courageous living human? How can I show up more fully, let go of my ego, let go of my bullshit, and show up and serve? Because service is the currency of the universe. At least if you're in a service profession, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to impact people's lives. If you want your life to be all about you, then this podcast is not for you. This is for people who want to make an impact, who want to shift the game of reality, who want to actually transform the planet and truly heal generations. This is really about planetary healing at the core of all this. Yes, I know sometimes I come on here and talk about intuition and emotion and money and business and all the material things, but the core of all of this is evolution. And learning to love yourself so that you can love your life and ultimately love the people around you, because that's what all human beings really want. Is to love themselves for who they are and to be loved for who they are and not be judged, because judgment is the highest form of chaos. So I digress. When you understand and learn how to work with these feedback loops of intuition, something really cool happens. You ready for it? Let me take a sip of water. Something really cool happens. When you realize that you are a co-creator of your entire reality, include the things you destroy and create, the things you build and break down, that you're part of all of it, you realize that it's all happening for you. And you can exhale a little bit, right? I don't know about you, but I feel like I can just exhale. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have to run from things. I don't have to avoid. I don't have to chase. I can just be who I am. I can truly be who I am. I can be a master and a mess. I can be Einstein and I can be an idiot. I can be kind. I can be cruel. I can be a sage and I can be a savage. I can be all of it, because that's who we are. Beyond the physical form, we are the entirety of the brilliance of the universe that exists within us. At an atomic level, think about this for a second. At an atomic level, you are more space than you are matter. At an atomic level, the atom is more space than it is physical matter. And even when you go into the microscopic quanta of neutrons and protons and electrons, it's vibrating waves in which time and density of matter doesn't even exist. It's just a vibrating wave. Think about that. So if you could tap into that every single day, think about tapping into that for a month. Can you imagine who you would be on the other side? Can you imagine the power that you would tap into in yourself to let go of the density and the gravity of your past and really become who you truly have been this entire time? It's just, we have these programs and things that condition us outside of our soul purpose, outside of who we truly are. You knew this as a baby. You knew this as a kid, right? You were imaginative, you were creative, you were expressive. And then things happen and we forget. And so in my world, this is a process of remembering. Every single program or thing that I teach, it's a process of remembering who the fuck you are and unlearning and dissolving the things that are keeping you from that. Because when you can really tap into your zone of genius, you know exactly what to do. You know the exact moves to make in your business, and your future identity pulls you into that vortex. And it's within that vortex, oh, does life get good and bad. But, it gets juicy. Where when things happen, challenges happen, you're like, okay, how do I transform this energy, this challenge into a masterpiece? How do I take this mud and turn it into a lotus? That is the true Jedi way. That is the wealthy artist way. That is I call it wealthy hippie, because I'm kind of a hippie, I like experiencing material things as a Taurus, but deep down I'm a hella hippie. Like I'm all about planetary healing. So imagine that. Imagine being able to tap into that for 30 days, and after 30 days, the rest of your life, if that's something you want. If it is something you want, then do I have something for you? And here's the beautiful thing as I wrap this up and invite you into an experience that I'm hosting within my containers. When you really tap into your intuition and you clear the static, you clear the density, you clear the gravity, you become more radiational than gravitational. You become more light than you do matter. You're in your zone of genius and you tap into what's called the 7 transcendental states of being. You're less emotional, you're less all over the place, you're less chaotic. Emotions can serve, but when you're in that state of gratitude and love, when you're in your zone of genius, you have enthusiasm. You create enthusiasm for life. You wake up and you're so inspired to create. You don't even call it work anymore. You're so freaking excited. You're so enthusiastic. You're certain. There's 7 states. You're certain about who you are and your offer. You're certain about why you are on this planet. You're certain about your purpose. Not necessarily confident all the time, but you're absolutely certain. You have gratitude. You have gratitude for everything that has happened for you, to you, through you, and that will happen for you, to you, and through you, because you realize the divinity and the order of the universe, and that you are part of that. You are a droplet. You are the entire universe in one drop. How powerful is that? You are stardust recreating itself every single day. How fucking cool is that when you can actually understand the physics of all this, right? You have love, true agape love, not, oh, I'm infatuated, or like I only love you when. True agape love, which is I love you no matter what. I love you and I love me. There's no conditions. There's no trying to fix the past. You love the past for what it is rather than trying to change who you are. And you love anything that is coming through you and to you from your future identity in which you tap more into that pulls you. You're present. Again, when you're in your true zone of genius and your true intuition, not fear, but intuition, you're present. You're in and one with space and time. You're not thinking about what you're going to say. You're not thinking about what the last client told you. You're not thinking about the challenges that are happening at home. You're present because you realize that is the only time we have is now. And that the past and the present are really just projections. They're actually not reality. You have grace. You have grace for self. You have grace for others. You have grace for challenges. You have grace for the grit. You have grace for the judgments. And you're just in grace. You're in a state of presence and grace. And ultimately, the last state of being is inspiration. You're inspired, which think about the word inspire, which is why my first business is called Inspire Life. When you inspire, you take in life, you breathe in oxygen, you get more vitality in your being, and you live in a state of inspiration rather than desperation. And all of what you create and build comes from that state of inspiration. You do it for the game, not because you have to or should, or even because you want to. You do it because you're inspired by the universe. You're inspired by your own energy. And you're just purely in this state of creation and inspiration. So what would it look like? What would it feel like? How would it land for you to be able to tap into that more often? Can you imagine how you would wake up? Can you imagine how you'd show up to your business? Can you imagine how you would serve your clients? Can you imagine how you would show up for your kids and your partner? Whew. If you could tap into that more often, drop in the comments like, let's go. So if this is something that you want to tap more into your zone of genius, your zone of inspiration, and cultivate what I call $1 million nervous system, that I have an invitation for you. And you've probably heard me talking about it online and other podcasts. So this is a 30-day experience I'll be hosting in October of 2026, depending on when you're listening to this, and probably into the future, but for now, just October. And I'm going to be guiding you for 30 days how to cultivate $1 million nervous system, which is about tapping into the 4 elements of cultivating $1 million nervous system that pours into every dimension of your life, becoming a somatic sovereign where you fully own this vessel It's you. You are occupied here in space-time. You are grounded. You are embodied. And from there, we step into mental emotional mastery and learn how to slay your shame to your greatest superpower. Because when you live in the energy of your past, you filter your behaviors through that. And when we move from shame rather than gratitude, we get stuck. We get stuck. And the shame stops us from expressing our true power, our true potency, our true superpowers. From there, we also get to tap into courageous living. And I'm here to give you the courage codes inside, where you move even in the midst of fear, because being fearless is an illusion. You learn how to move. You learn why you take certain behaviors and why other ones you don't. And you actually start to give yourself grace in that and understand what behaviors drive you and what behaviors are not driving you, and how to work with that energy differently. And then last, from that, when you become a somatic sovereign, you slay your shame and you live courageously. Ultimately, you build true generational wealth. And you live in alignment with your life design and your wealth design. And you stop trying to become everyone else and you live you, because you are one of many. You are 1 in 10 billion. You are a category of 1. There's only one of you in all of creation. And so you learn how to build wealth from that. Not from what other people tell you, not from what other coaches tell you, from you, from your design. Because that is the wealthiest form of you that you can be. Because you are rare. You are 1 in 10 billion. And you realize that everything in your life, your lived curriculum, has actually happened for you rather than to you. And you become the Jedi. You become the master Jedi of your life. And you learn how to work with the universal forces in and around you. And you get to have more fun. So if that sounds like something that would light you up and you would like to work with me for a month straight, then I'm going to drop the link in the show notes here. It's only $97 for 30 days. Or if you want to upgrade to VIP, depending on where we're at in our sales, it's $9.97 for VIP, in which you get my eyes, my wisdom on your business, your blocks, and everything in between, where you get my coaching, my guidance, which is normally, y'all, anywhere from $2,500 to $4,000 a month to work with me for a month straight. And that's not all. We're doing 4 live activations on each of the elements and each of the identities to step into to cultivate your $1 million nervous system and how to actually live into those identities, and giving you the methodology and the tools and the frameworks to help you do so. So that after these 30 days, you're not just thinking differently. You're not just believing new thoughts, and you're not just having it in your mind. You're actually embodied in a new identity. You're actually living differently. You're breathing differently at your core. At your core. So if that sounds exciting, click the link below, hop on over, get signed up, join VIP with me. You get a bonus VIP training call with me. And I don't want to give it all away because I know this episode is wrapping up. I'm giving away over $11,000 of prizes. So you're definitely going to want to click a link, go check out all the amazing prizes that I'm giving away when you show up and play all out, my friends. All right. This is Dr. Mel. This is your Lioness Sound Bite. I look forward to seeing you at the next perfect time. Cheers.